way the class back that could not hear very well, so it was too fair to do that. You all will receive full credit for that assignment. We'll do, for your attendance, we'll do the question. If you submit a question, we'll count it as your attendance as well. So, as always, we're going to take care of you. Today, once again, we had a change in the speaker schedule. This is not Mr. R.J. Reed. However,
Nope.
This is one of my favorite entrepreneurs as well that I've known for a good long while now, and has a fantastic story. He's actually somebody I wanted to get here this semester anyway. Mr. R.J. was in business in New Orleans today and will be joining us later in the semester. Ben has an amazing story to tell you of a company that he built essentially from scratch, left a high-paying job. I don't want to spoil all this story, though. So let's welcome Ben Hubbard.
This on or Can y'all hear me? In the back? Okay, good. Cool. Well, then I'm going to take this off. Is this on? Oh, it's for the podcast? I'll leave it on for you then. As I said, I'm Ben Hubbard. What I'm going to do for y'all today is give y'all a little introduction of who I am, my background, a little bit about my company, what I did. I don't really have a presentation because he called me about 45 minutes ago and said, hey, I need a backup speaker. So here I am. But I'm originally from Louisville, Mississippi, about 30 minutes down the way. I am an alumnus of Mississippi State University. I have a double major in computer science and software engineering. I graduated in 2005 from here, so about 11 years ago. I went and got a master's in information security, which is computer science, from Georgia Tech. When I was at Mississippi State, I was given a scholarship for service. Basically, the federal government paid me a lot of money to go to school, and then I had to go work for them. So I spent 5 years in beautiful Destin, Florida, working for the Air Force. I did several tasks like information assurance. We did bomb and missile testing. So we go blow shit up and then run software to test how it did. So if you've ever heard like of smart bombs, we would actually write the software that would test them, which is actually pretty fantastic of how they test it. If you set a bomb up on a pedestal, you put a big sheet of paper around it, and you just blow it up. And then you look at the bomb fragments around it, and you test the velocity, et cetera, data reduction, and then that's how you know, like, the kill ratio of a bomb, and that's what the war fighter, the Air Force, uses in all of the conflict for the U.S. So I did that for a while, but I just didn't really like it. I didn't really enjoy it. I have always liked not being told what to do. Had always wanted to run my own company. I was kind of tired of, although what we were doing was really cool, it was important for the warfighter. The software I was writing only had about 20 users. So I was like, well, I only have like a 20 user base, and although it's important, I really want to reach more people. Like, I really want to do something and have a lot of people benefit from what I do. Because if I don't, I just wasn't getting the satisfaction. Plus, in the government, just due to the way it's set up, there's a lot of intelligent people there, but there's a lot of people just kind of freeloading, and I just prefer to go work with people just to get stuff done. So in 2008, one of my good friends, actually one of my best friends, who is also a Mississippi State graduate, he's from Orlando and Jackson, Sucker Hill, Starkville, he had an idea for a company. He was working at the Army Corps of Engineers in Vicksburg, and then what happened, is a little story of how we got to Navagis, is Hurricane Katrina happened. So is everyone here pretty much from the Gulf Coast or familiar with it? So the Gulf Coast area. So when Katrina hit, it caused a huge problem for the Army Corps of Engineers because the levees broke, the Mississippi Gulf Coast was devastated. So they needed a way to actually help understand what happened and present it in a format that they could go talk to Congress and two-star generals and kind of tell the story. So around about the same time, or actually in 2004, Google had acquired a company called Keyhole. So Keyhole was an In-Q-Tel-backed startup. If you're not familiar with In-Q-Tel, they are basically the CIA's venture capital arm. So the CIA, through In-Q-Tel, funded Keyhole. Google bought it. And the reason this is important is because Keyhole became what you know as Google Earth. So Google Earth was released. It really revolutionized how we thought about geospatial data. Because how many of y'all have downloaded Google Earth? How many of you have used Google Maps? So pretty much everybody in here has used Google Maps, Google Earth in your daily life. A question I like to ask is, what was the first thing you did when you downloaded Google Earth? Exactly. no matter where I am, no matter what country, no matter what continent, that is the one thing people always say, and it just fascinates me. But it's really transformed, like, how do we approach our daily lives? Like, how do we actually use location and location intelligence in what we do? So I'll get more into that of how we do it today, but from a historical perspective, the Army Corps went out and spent $2 million on a product called Google Earth Enterprise. It was behind the firewall on your corporate network for you to create your own Google Earth. My business partner and friend, David Moore, was assigned to this project. They stuck him in a closet with a bunch of servers and said, go build something cool so we can show this off. And actually, this on the internet? Yeah. Just kind of show you, if I can remember the link, so bear with me. Nope. Here we go. So one of the very first things he did was take high-performance computing models of how Hurricane Katrina flooded New Orleans. So what you're seeing is the eye of the hurricane pass through, and then you're going to see the models that show you how the city flooded. So you're seeing at the very beginning rainwater seeping in and flooding the city. So the city was actually flooding before the levees broke. And then they brought in the water pumps, and you can see the water recede a little bit, and then you'll see a few green spots pop up on the map, and those represent the levee breaks, and that's when you see this big blue wall just go through the city. So this is one of the very first things my partner did at the Army Corps of Engineers was visualize, using this Google Earth Enterprise platform, how do you visualize the flooding? And this is what the 2-star generals who ran the Army Corps of Engineers used to present their case on how they solved the flooding, what went wrong, and how do they make things better. This platform went on to be 980 terabytes of data they were visualizing all across the Army Corps and across the Department of Defense. So my partner realized that he was onto something. He would go to Google partner events, Google Earth Enterprise forums, and he realized that, of all these people from all over the world, he knew as much, if not more, about this product, plus he had an idea how to make this product better. And one of his good friends was a gentleman by the name of Joel Baumgar. If you're not familiar with him, he is a Mississippi entrepreneur that started a company called Baumgar and sold it 2 years ago for we don't really know how much, but I'm pretty sure it was over $100 million. So he actually told my partner, you should do it. The time is right. You have an idea. I built a successful software company here in Jackson. You can do it too. So my friend set off on his own with an idea of how to do it, called me up and said, look, I need your help. So I left my job at the Air Force, where I was playing on the beach in beautiful Destin, Florida, no stress, no worries. It was awesome. And I was like, you know what, I'm in. So I moved back to Mississippi to Jackson. He and I started it in an incubator with no money at the E-Center, basically it's the Jackson State University E-Center down there in South Jackson. So we got started. We started building up an MVP, paying ourselves nothing. We would start taking odd jobs. So we'd use our Google connection, our DoD connections to say, hey, you're using this Google Earth Enterprise product. We're experts at it. Pay us $10,000. We'll come in. We'll show you how to do it. We'll do some work. And then we'd pocket it. So that's how we built the company. And we built a software product on top of this Google Earth Enterprise product. Well, we then went and showed it to Google. And when Google saw it, they went, man, that's awesome. But that's in our roadmap. So, yeah. So you can go build that. And in 2 years, we're just going to make your company irrelevant. Or you're about 18 months ahead of us. Why don't you come work for us and do what you did in our product? So we thought about it for about 5 minutes and said, sure, we'll come work for you, Google. So we sent my partner out from Jackson to Mountain View. He spent all of 2010 working as a full-time software engineer in the Mountain View office of Google, taking what we had done and applying it to this Google Earth product. And I stayed back in Jackson, taking the money we're getting from Google, continuing to get these odd jobs. and just trying to figure out what are our next steps. Like, what do we do now? Like, our product is dead. We're getting this money from these service gigs, but that's not why we did it. I mean, we're software developers. We wanted to create software. We wanted to change the world. So when my partner finished the contract with Google and came back, Fortune just kind of found us, and through our Google relation, the head of Google Geo in Singapore called us, and he said, we need an American partner who understands this Google technology that is willing to move to Asia. Because we're hiring a bunch of people from Oracle who don't know anything about geospatial. They don't know our product. They don't know how to sell it. We're bringing on these partners in these countries like Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, and they don't know geo or how to sell our product either. We need someone who knows it. And Google San Francisco said, call David and Ben at Navagis. They were probably willing to go. And we were, because where we were sitting, we didn't really have a product anymore. The market at that time was very federal government focused, and if we wanted to go compete with all these other firms doing it, we'd have had to move from Jackson to probably the D.C. area or maybe down to Stennis. So we were going to have to pick up and move anyway to go compete in this market. We were really not in a good position to compete in this market, so we said, let's just go to Asia. Let's not compete with these partners. Let's kind of change focus of the company and go to Asia, and we did, because Google showed us around. They said, you're going to come with us to all our meetings. We're going to pay you $60,000 to relocate to Asia. And so we basically picked up from the U.S. and left. My partner lived in Japan and Singapore for like 4 years. I lived in Hong Kong and Singapore for about a year. And I've spent a ton of time in Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, I've been about 25 countries now because of my work with Navagis. Israel, Greece, Italy, and then most like Southeast Asia. But we pivoted directions of the company, and we started going with Google and selling their Google products to people, taking a margin, and then doing large software development contracts with these enterprise firms. Basically, it's called firm fixed price model of what do you need? This is how long we think it'll take. This is how much money. You're going to pay us $500,000. You'll pay us $200K for the Google. We'll take a portion, and then we just started getting clients, and we just started building up enough like key clients, like 3 or 4, paying us this amount of money. We were able to grow, hire more people, and one thing we did is when we were negotiating, we made sure we could keep ownership rights to what we're building. So we made sure that we can resell what we're building, even though it was custom. So we've now, through this, built up a lot of IP that we have. So now when I go talk to another company, I can say, hey, I've got about 50% of what you need. I've got the Google Maps part. Why don't you buy what I have, plus pay me some more service work to actually make it fit your company? And that's kind of where we are today. And I'll go into more details as I can about the ups and downs, etc. But let me just start showing you what we do now. So one thing I'll say before I do it is, have you ever heard the concept of fail fast? So the concept of fail fast is, especially in the entrepreneurial world, is you have an idea, you go out, and if you don't just accelerate, then just let it die. Because if you don't fail fast, you'll just sit there at this kind of slow growth, neutral growth, and you'll basically just burn money. And you'll burn so much money that you die. So in my company, we took that concept to not necessarily the company itself, which is the way a lot of companies and entrepreneurs do, but basically, what's our business model? So we've gone through multiple business models until I kind of came to what I said today of where we are. So I say that to speak about it in the concept of fail fast, because it is a very key danger of entrepreneurship to hold on to something too long and to just let it burn money. And then you burn money until you die. So a little bit more about Navagis today. We're a Google partner. We're an Oracle partner. We're an Oracle partner because we built a Google Maps software product for a large utility in the Philippines. The Oracle utility people saw it, they loved it, and they want us to go resell it to other utilities in the Philippines and Asia. So we're kind of talking to them about doing that. We're partners with IBM because they want us to do the same thing. They want us to take that utility product we built and apply it to their products. And then SoftBank is they're a large investment holding firm out of Japan. And in Japan, they're actually the second largest telco in Japan. So we actually did a software product for them, for their sales force. Plus, they're also working with us to try and grow our business in Japan. Just some of our clients. Google is actually a client of ours. So we have 5 full-time engineers working in New York, Mountain View, and Tokyo, helping people do support work on the Google Maps products. We've kind of ranged the globe from large industrial firms, startups, like Tripping.com is one of my favorite. They're a startup firm out of San Francisco where they do like short-term vacation rentals. Pretty neat idea. They raised like $20 million 2 years ago. They're making another capital raise. Palantir is pretty interesting. They're kind of secretive. They do a lot of like big data analytics. They're another pretty neat firm. So we've kind of touched a range of different people. And then I really just want to show this to kind of show you what I do and show you what it looks like. So we mostly do with sales and marketing, facility mapping, operations, logistics. And the idea is 80% of all business data has some kind of location context to it. It has a spot on the earth, maybe even a time of when it occurred on the earth. So how do we take like Google Maps and Google Earth and something that most people use in their daily lives, like how do I get from here to there? Like how do I find the closest Starbucks? Where's my house? Let me go street view it and see what this place looks like. Like how do we take this platform that we've used, this base map of location information, and then tie in your corporate information that you have from your location aspects, the transactional information you have, like the amount of money my people are spending, the amount of money we're spending, and tie all of this together into one map-driven platform that you can use. So that's what we do today. It's all web and mobile technology to help businesses run their business and to help business users solve business problems that have a location aspect to it. So this is a demotized version of an application we built for the 3rd largest telco in Indonesia. Their problem was we have a bunch of stores, and we have a point of sale system in these stores registering sales. But what we don't have is how do we visualize how these stores are performing based on their key performance indicators, and then how are they performing from a geospatial aggregate perspective. So what we did is we aggregated all of the sales information for all of these stores and then aggregated from each store into a cluster, and then a cluster to a region, the region to the whole country. And then we gave you a way to break it down based on the product you're selling and then the different key performance indicators. So what you're seeing is I can at any point in time select a product, select a sale, select a region, and then see how it's performing. And the colors tell me, is it good or is it bad? And then I can zoom down and see, is it good, is it bad? And then I can go take a deeper dive and start pulling the actual transactional information so I know this store, this region is performing poorly or not, and I know where it is. I know the location concept. We also do the concepts of graphs and bar charts, but overlaid in the sense of location. So when I want to see where my customers are on the map, I don't want to just see a marker. I don't want to just see a little pin that says the customer's here. Show me a visualization that says, what does this customer mean to me? In this case, you're looking at an example of what we did for SoftBank. We showed their 3.2 million customers around the globe. They had a view to say, show me my customers on a revenue potential for multiple products, and then also the amount of effort I put into the customer versus the revenue I get. So those are just different visualizations that we do. And then this one is so we do it in 3D as well. 3D is not as important, but we can do 3D visualizations. And then it's the time-based of like how, in this case, we're looking at how do my store growth look like? This one is from 2009 to 2012. Where was my store growth? Like where was my key store growth? Where was my core customer growth? Show me a visualization that tells me like where is this happening so I can make decisions around it. And then this one is simply showing a different view. Instead of a heat map, an aggregate view showing individual locations on the map, so I can then maybe click on them and interact with the transactional data from that location. So not only do we do like our own software for our customers, we do a lot of consulting with other firms to integrate location and Google Maps into their products. So this is an example of, if you go to FedEx, of how they're using Google Maps, Google transactional data to create a public-facing application that you can consume in order to get location information. So this is an example of just what's called a store locator. So we do a lot of store locators and store locator consulting with a lot of the public-facing retail firms. So it just shows that we don't just do like internal business-facing applications for business users. We help the business create public-facing applications to basically share their location context with their customers. Something else we do are coverage maps. I don't believe I have an example here, but all of our telco clients in the Philippines, and Asia, we help them generate your coverage map. Like, where's your coverage? And then queries of, if I want to sign up for your products you have, can I do it at my address? So we do a lot of that as well. And then kind of the new thing we're getting at is indoor mapping. So I've shown you a lot of like macro mapping, where are stores, where are pipelines, like where is stuff on a large scale. But how do we apply that to inside a building, to a campus? So if I wanted to route you from one building, basically from this room to another room on the 4th floor over there, how do I route you? So if you can go to Google or Waze and say Starkville to Jackson, and it will tell you how to get there, and you can use GPS to track you and give you there. But if you're now going inside, how do you do that? So we're coming up with technology. There's a lot of things, they're called Bluetooth beacons. So you basically create like a GPS-like facility inside a building, and then you start tracking people the way you would outside, and you create this seamless experience of, what does the inside of a building look like? What does the floor plan look like? How do I track people within the building? How do I track personnel, assets? If I'm in a shopping mall, how do I tell you how to get from this point to the other with, the accuracy to make it happen? Because here we're talking about, tracking stuff to an accuracy level of this thing is literally right here. Because if I tried to use cellular location, GPS, any of that, it can't get it. It's going to tell me this isn't right here. It's over there in that building because it just can't calibrate. But with this indoor positioning, we can get to within that much accuracy of where stuff is. So it opens up a whole new model of how you do asset tracking in these massive facilities. And this is just an example. And again, the other part is the 3D view, so street view. So now we're doing this indoor mapping. How do we also take the concept of street view and take it inside, for a full-blown experience of, a map in a building? So that's some of the new stuff we're doing now. And this is a proof of concept we're working on with Tesla of how do they do supply chain visualization. So, they have a product called Tableau. Tableau is kind of like a business analytics software. It has some rudimentary mapping, but they're looking for more like dynamic mapping and seeing the flow of products through their entire supply chain. So this is a proof of concept we're working on with them, where it's just showing you, all right, you have your different parts. I got my parts. Where are my parts coming from? What's the road they're taking? What's the sea path they're taking? Which way are they going? I can click on it, get the lead time, and then start making decisions about my supply chain through the application. And then the other thing we do is a lot of mobile. So this slide is telling you we do a lot of tracking of field crews. So either outage response, outside sales forces, but using smartphones, giving a distributed workforce the ability to communicate in real time with the HQ, to be task jobs, to get directions to the job, to take pictures at the job, to fill out forms of the job, and basically do the full circle of, hey, Bob, you need to go over here, go over there, here's directions to get there, here's the information you need. Bob's like, I'm here, I'm telling you what I did, I'm telling you my status, I'm taking pictures, and all that is funneled dynamically to HQ. So it's just a seamless process of communication with the distributed field crew. So we do a lot of that, particularly with outage response and utility, and then with In our telco space, it's usually with a distributed sales team. So where are your sales guys? Hey, they need to go here. They need to talk to this client. They need to pick up this contract, etc. And that's it for that. So any questions, anything? None? Okay.
We're sending them online, so y'all go ahead and ask anything that you have, and then I'll start curating.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I just kind of want to do a background, and the rest I was just kind of, like I said, I don't really have anything prepared. I'll just kind of sit here and opine on my experiences of what I've done over the past few years, pitfalls I've seen, mistakes we've made. So, yes.
How much is the other?
What's that?
How much is the cost
Of what we do? It ranges in value depending on the size, how many users you have, etc. But we'll do a contract. Right now, we're looking to do about $10,000 to $20,000 in the Google Maps, about $25,000 to $50,000 on our software, and then we're looking $50,000 to $500,000 on our services. About the size of the contracts we're doing right now.
So you talked about the facility GPS usage. Do you guys have any plans to work with the fully walk app data from this website?
No. Honestly, I'm not even familiar with it. I'd love to do it and learn more, but most of our work right now is in Asia, or we're getting a lot of our work from our West Coast sales team. So right now we're in talks with Stanford to do inpatient tracking, and then we were talking to a hospital in Vermont about tracking nurses, but that kind of fell through. And then right now we're talking to an airline in Indonesia where they want to do the workforce tracking plus the indoor mapping for their airport. So those are kind of the three people we're talking to right now.
Do you have to get a patent for the Bluetooth
No, we don't. I'm sure the people that develop them do. We're more, in that case, more like a system integrator, if you're familiar with that term. So we go buy the beacons, deploy them. We've got some partnerships with some companies that build them, and then we build the location intelligence software that interfaces with the beacon to basically on the mobile device or like a little wearable, whatever you want, to pinpoint where stuff is, and then the back-end map that takes like the floor plans, digitizes the floor plans, overlays them in the system, then shows you where people are. That's how we interface with it.
You're talking about doing like street view. Is that what you're trying to use for the street view, or is it something else? Like, I imagine like a Google cars that like travel around.
So when we do Street View inside, it's Street View was done by the cars that drive around with the 360 camera. So we take those same type of cameras into the building, and we typically pay professionals $1,000 to $30,000 a pop to actually go into the facility and take the pictures. So you create that Street View-like experience in your facility, and then we tie that to your floor plan, etc. So you can create that full. The idea is to visualize your facilities in the way that makes sense. So that's how we do it. In the hat. We can access security cameras. We actually did a project back in 2010 with the GOSEP out of Louisiana, basically the Department of Homeland Security, where we helped them build a Google Earth Enterprise system for Louisiana, and we interfaced webcams from traffic to do live web streams. The reason, so when you're looking at it, there's the idea of you put a marker on the map and say, here's the webcam, get the live view. And then you can pan, zoom, see it live. There's also I want that interactive tour experience of like Street View, of take me into the building, let me see what it looks like, and then give me an ability to click on stuff within the image and interact with it. So it really just depends on what your use case is. Do you want to do a live monitoring? Then you do webcams. Do you just want to show people what something looks like so they can understand it, visualize it, navigate it? Then you do the Street View. No, there's a few others. So there's a company in Europe that's dedicated to like the indoor stuff, and we've kind of partnered with them on that. There's a few other Google partners here in the U.S. That do this, and then So that's a good question about competitive space. So, there are like a couple other companies in Asia that are kind of like this niche location consulting, and then what we just run into a lot of are just other development firms. Just, hey, we do solution development too, and this is our bid. So that's kind of our competitive space in a condensed way. Yeah, so a lot of these guys are either using a different mapping-based platform. So there's something called ESRI or ESRI, which basically created the concept of GIS. GIS is Geospatial Information Systems. It's electronic mapping. And, Jack Dangermond started them in Redmond's 70s or whatever, 60s, 70s, and they basically, for many years, were digital maps. And they were really threatened by Google from a visualization standpoint back in the mid-aughts. But, they're trying to play catch-up, and they're preaching their own, we have our own base map. So there's them, there's a few other, competitors who are more focused on that. So in that case, we kind of ride the Google train and say, well, no, we're the Google partner. We're going to do Google base map, and we're going to do Google development. And so then it's kind of a platform war, and that's how we differentiate. If people know they want to go Google, then it's more of experience. It's, okay, we've done so many projects in your industry, or we have so many projects that have done it, and then it's like here we took what you said and we create a proof of concept to show what we can do really quickly. So we do things like that. Yes?
What challenges did your company face moving from Jackson, Mississippi to Asia?
Yeah, it's understanding the different cultures and how to sell to them and interface with them. So that was actually abated by our partnership with Google because we didn't have to actually build our brand ourselves. Google would take us to the meetings and be like, hey, we're Google, by the way, if you do anything, they're actually going to do it. So we were able to ride Google's coattails enough to build somewhat of a brand over there, so now we can kind of stand on our own. But, the biggest thing is just knowing, so like in the Philippines, they just say yes, even if they don't understand. And that's actually all Southeast Asia. They don't want to lose face. So if I ask you a question, when I do trainings over there, do y'all understand? Yes. Do you really understand? Yes. They have no idea. So, you have to understand that and just recognize it. Because here in the U.S., I'm like, do you understand? No, I really don't. Tell me again. Okay, let me tell you again. Because they're not afraid. We don't care. I'm like, I don't know. Tell me. Over there, very much oh, you don't know? You don't understand after the guy told you? Better not ask. So that led to a lot of problems. Understanding hiring over there, understanding keeping people over there. It's just, you're navigating a different culture and a different value system. So, that was a challenge. Language wasn't too big a deal because, almost all business is typically done in English. Japan is an issue because the Japanese are like, no, we speak Japanese. So we had to hire local Japanese to do it. In the Philippines, it's all in English. In Indonesia, it's mostly English, especially in Jakarta. Singapore is English-speaking. Malaysia is English-speaking. India is English-speaking. So that's not usually too hard. The other thing we learned was hiring local people in the country to help us navigate. So one mistake we made was trying to bring U.S. people over to Asia to kind of do it because we had them and we didn't really know how to hire over there yet. So that was a huge mistake we made. And we wasted a lot of money. It was bad, but we've since rectified it. Now we know how to hire in Asia, and I can go hire. I can go hire in whatever country I need to. I know how to do it. I know how to look for people, particularly the Philippines, because we've got so many people on the ground now. That was a big challenge too. Was understanding how should we actually structure our company in this country to do business, because each one's slightly different. So, yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. So, just do it. So I've got a lot of advice here, but one is just do it. Especially at y'all's age, if you fail, so what? It doesn't matter. You can go get a job. And if you fail, then you at least have experience on what you did wrong, because failure is not necessarily a bad thing. Not learning from your failure and not repeating those mistakes is what's bad. So, I mean, just go do it. Like, if you have an idea, go do it. As far as more practical, find people that have done it to help you. So, if you know this is the type of market you want to do, the type of product you want to do, go try and look for somebody who's done it, or at least touched on it, and ask for their advice. Because one thing I like to say is, you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot you don't know and a lot you need to learn. So go find people that have done it to help teach you. The flip side of that is, always remember at the end of the day, it's your company. It's your baby. You're responsible for it. So if you need to go with your gut, go with your gut. That's probably some of the best advice. Oh, the other one is, the people you hire are so important. So, like, be very careful of who you hire. Because if you hire, you're going to live and die by the people you hire. Because at the end of the day, your company is all about the people. So if you hire great people that you can manage and work well with, you should succeed. If you hire people that don't fit your culture and cause problems, then you're going to fail. The other one is, like I said, fail fast. Like, it's a business. So if you've got an employee that's not working out, cut them. Like, especially on sales. Like, if you got a sales guy not hitting his quota, gone. Like, don't care if he's your best friend, if it makes you feel bad, gone. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to manage what's best for the company and the bottom line of the company, so the company can continue, because there's a lot of people riding on it. Like, I've had to personally riff like 20 people. It's like, look, we got too big, we overspent, now we got to let you go to keep the company afloat. And it's terrible, but you got to do it. And one mistake we made was keeping sales guys on too long. They're not making money, and we're just burning money on them, and then next thing you know, we're 6 months down the wrong direction. So that's another advice is, just the people management. Understand that people management is going to be so key to your job. And it's making sure you hire the right people, and then making sure you find people who don't work out and let them go at the appropriate time. Like, don't let it linger. So. How do we acquire customers? Yeah, so we have our own sales force. So like in Asia, the way there's 3 ways we acquire customers in Asia. So like in the Philippines, I have a sales force in the Philippines. They go out and they call people up and they say, this is what we do. Hey, this is my buddy. This is what we do. So we have an outbound. It's called outbound sales strategy. So we go out and we look and we hunt for people. So that's one way we do it. 2, we utilize Google to do what's called inbound. So outbound is when you aggressively go find customers. Inbound is when you use marketing, word of mouth, webinars, etc. for the customer to contact you. I'm glad we said this because I was actually at a seminar, and so I spent 18 months in San Francisco in Silicon Valley. I actually just left there. It was a fantastic experience. I learned a lot. But a seminar I was sitting in was kind of neat, where this guy was like, if you're building a company, the very first thing you do is build a good outbound organization. He's like, get your SDRs, get your people looking for companies, go hunt clients. Build that out, start getting leads, start getting your pipeline, start generating revenue, and then you focus on the inbound. I mean, the inbound, like once you get them, is easier because the people are interested, but it's harder to build inbound. It's less return on investment until you get large enough. So we do inbound from Google. So Google, like Philippines, will get a lead. They look at Navagis as the partner, and they pass it to us. And then the third way we get it is through client referrals. So in Asia, there's a lot of massive conglomerates that own like 16 companies. So you get in a couple companies, they refer you to their sister companies. Here in the U.S., the way we do it is we do outbound. We have our own outbound engine we've created where we hunt people, and then we leverage Google for inbound leads. So those are the 2 ways we get customers. Yes, ma'am.
And learning the different cultures and by Google helping build your brand, did you ever feel like you lost part of the personal control of your brand?
No, I didn't. At that point, I just needed to build brand. I mean, we were just some startup with nothing or no money, kind of building a brand in the DoD space, and then it just wasn't good enough to really compete. And then in Asia, let's just build a brand. And I didn't care. to be honest. Now we actually, especially in the Philippines, we have so many clients. We have a pretty decent brand, and if I call somebody like, I've heard of you, you do the Google mapping. So that's nice that they've heard of us. It's great.
Do you have a picture of what would have happened if you hadn't gone to Google, try to show them the product?
No, I mean, we had to. We built our company specialized on their product. We knew that to her question, we knew we had no brand. We didn't want to go build brand. We just wanted to build revenue and leverage Google's brand until we get enough revenue we could build our own. So I don't ever think about if we hadn't shown it, because we had to. Because we needed, the way we first started building our money was we built our own channel, which we would go take other Google partners and say, you're much better at sales, we're much better at technical, you go get deals and we'll give you a portion of what we do. So it was always go tell Google and tell Google what we're doing, because we wanted Google to go be like, hey guys, look at this cool product our partners built, go buy it. So it was never a question we had to show Google. Yes, sir. Mostly visualization, but we do some optimization. Our core key is how do we take different data sets that you have and bring them together in a way that you can visualize quickly on a map. So our core thing is, when you're trying to show somebody 3 million points on a map in a web browser or on a mobile device, or you want to show them, a polygon like state or county boundaries across a massive area, and you want that to render in 2 seconds, that's what we do. And then how do you quickly tie that to the back-end data? So we'll do a little bit of optimization, but it's not really our core competency. Anybody else?
Ben, how hard was it leaving a job, you paid a lot of money on the beach,
Yeah.
jumped into a startup? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very glad I did it, and I don't regret it. But it was both exciting, so exciting, and very nerve-wracking, because I didn't get paid any money for the first 6 months. I had to live off my savings until we could generate enough revenue to start paying us money. And you go from every 2 weeks you get a paycheck, and you go to work, and you leave work, and you're done. You wake up, you do it again, and I'm taking this big plunge, and I could very well, run out of money and have to crawl back to it. It was a big decision, and I thought about it a lot, but I don't know. I guess I was so excited about the opportunity. I was so frustrated with the organization I was in, and as much as I loved living in the beach, and I loved, those 4 years were probably the best years of my life. I was 24 years old. I had a good job. I was living on the beach. I was making new friends from all across the country. There were military people coming in. It was great. And I gave that up. I now just, I work a lot. So, from a personal perspective, and friends, it's definitely been damaged. But as far as satisfaction and what I've done, then I feel much better. I like what I was doing, because it was a dead-end job. It was going to take 30 years to get advancement. It was a niche product. I just wanted to impact more people. So it was worth the risk to do it. You and then you. So I wasn't actually in the military. I was civil service. So I was a civilian employee of the Air Force. But it did definitely, seeing military culture and seeing the military did shape some. Our job was to support the warfighter. So, we were very much, we've got to make sure that what we do matters, because, people's lives matter. And, if these weapons fail, or if they don't do what they're supposed to, there could be even political repercussions, because, with smart bombs, the whole idea is hit a building and kill the guy in the building and not blow up the whole building. So if you fail, then it's collateral damage. And then, but I don't know. I guess it just shaped my view on it, and it really, the way it really shaped me is it proved to me that I like startups and private industry better, because seeing the bureaucracy in the government and how hard it is to get stuff done, I just don't like that. Like, I like getting stuff done. In a small company like this, we can pivot like that. We can change gears. We can get stuff done. And in the government, a project that me to do would take in 2 months, we can do it in like 3 weeks. So.
Any suggestions on how to live like a frugal life? If you haven't started to do that yet?
Yeah, so, one good thing about doing a software startup in Jackson was just cost of living. So, like my apartment in San Francisco, I was just spending $3,000 a month for 750 square feet. And that's not even the most expensive. The most expensive I've ever spent was in Hong Kong, where I was spending about 3,200 equivalent US for just over 400 square feet. So really where you live matters. So I mean, there are deficiencies to doing software here in Mississippi, but there are benefits if you don't have money. So that was helpful. I mean, if you're, the good thing about being frugal, and if you have a company, if you're getting any money, you can leverage the company to pay for a lot of your stuff. So I don't pay a phone bill, I don't pay health insurance, I don't pay car insurance. I didn't pay that $3,000 rent. The company did. My phone, I use my phone for everything, company. Our company has to have, this is a funny story. So even doing software development contracts, we have to have auto insurance. If you do a professional services contract with somebody, you're going to do auto, general liability, and workers' comp. They're going to require it. So we're like, we don't have any automobiles. Hey, insurance guy, what do? Do you have personal autos? Yeah, insure those. Great. I don't pay for car insurance anymore. I haven't paid for car insurance in 8 years. That saved me a lot of money. You go on travel, company pays for it. So looking at what are valid company expenses that you can pay for, because if it's not valid, then it's unethical and you shouldn't do it. But what are valid company expenses that benefit you? And then it's just, if your head's down honestly, if your head's down in a company, you're going to be spending so much time on the company that you're just going to do less stuff. You're going to go out less. You're going to buy less toys. You're not going to travel as much, and this is for the company. So you just naturally are going to spend less money. You should look at, some of the stuff we would do is we used to share hotel rooms. If we had to get me and my partner there together, even a salesperson, employee, because we didn't have any money. We would drive to places instead of fly. We would stay at cheaper hotels. Using those travel sites to save money. You eat not very good food. For a while, we wouldn't spend any money on food unless it was entertainment for a client. Then we'd take the client and spend $900. But for us, it was like fast food and other crap like that. So it's just, you just look at what you're spending in your own life and for the company and make sure, it's relevant and you'll come to a breaking point where you will want to spend time to save money, like your time or the time of an employee, versus where you're making so much money that it just makes more sense to spend an extra $500 on a flight than to actually go and try and save that $500. But that's on down the road.
What about endgame?
Okay.
How much thought do you put into endgame?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when you are starting your company, you should not start a company unless you have thought about the exit strategy. How are you going to get out of this company? What is your goal? Because if you haven't thought about that, then you haven't really thought about your business model. So, the end game is important. Like, what do you want this company to be? Do you want a lifestyle company? Do you want to go out and generate, enough money that you can pay yourself a nice salary, be the boss, and live a great lifestyle? That's one option. Do you want to get acquired, which is what we want to do? So basically you want to go build up a company and flip it. Okay, do you want to IPO? Do you want to do a royalty exit? Well, a royalty exit would be, I was talking to the gentleman earlier, you have a product, you have an idea. You don't necessarily need to build a company around that product. You just need to build the product, protect it with a patent, some other kind of legal protection, and then go sell it. Because that's not a bad exit either. If you come up with a cool product and you don't want to build a company around it, you sell it to somebody else, and yeah, you pay me 5% royalties for the rest of my life. So that's not a bad exit. But always think about, like, I have a great idea. So I have a problem I see. This is how I want to solve it. Great. What's your end game? Because once you think about your end game, what you want to do, that forces you to think about, well, what's your business model? And, like, how do you, if you're not doing a royalty exit, how do you generate money? Like, how do you generate revenue? Because really, you know, unless you're doing like a Silicon Valley, kind of in the basic Silicon Valley I've been seeing, kind of VC stuff, has been like user acquisition. It's not necessarily about revenue. It's about potential revenue from just getting users. So that's how they do it. I mean, our company and what I like, we don't look at it that way. It's more of what's our model to generate revenue. So thinking about your exit strategy helps you know, like, how do you do that? So, I mean, you can't just look here. You have to look down the road. The other reason you do this is if you ever need to raise money, you are going to get asked this question because your investors who are going to give you money care basically about this. Like, they want to know what's your exit strategy. How are you going to take the money I give you and turn that into 5 to 40x? So always think about what you want the end game to be.
All right. Talked about when you made the change, moved into doing this project, made the things to yourself. What was the biggest hesitation in your mind?
I'm actually an interesting case is, so my masters were paid for by the U.S. Air Force, and I owed them 3 years of service, and I only did 2. So probably my biggest hesitancy was the Air Force going to come back and make me pay that money when that would have wiped out my personal savings, and I wouldn't have been able to live and do this company. So that was my personal biggest hesitation, which basically just equates to my own financial situation. So that was really it, was my own personal financial situation. Because, I mean, this is something I like to tell people is, like, when you're doing, like I told you, if you have an idea, do it. Like, please explore your idea, especially now if you're in college. You know, if you don't have kids, like, now is the time to do it. Like, please do it. I mean, I want y'all to do it. If you're in here, you may have an idea. Please find somebody, go do it, because we need it. But one thing to remember is, do take care of yourself. Like, don't put yourself in a situation that if the company dies and fails, that you're ruined and can't come back from it. So if you need to keep some of your own little nest egg there, you know, if you don't co-sign for debt that you can't manage, because, you know, the first few years of starting a company, if any credit you get, that's you. That's all you. Like, you won't get a credit card in your company name until you get $4, $5, $6 million annual revenue for like 3 or 4 years. So make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation that you will personally fail. You want to make sure that the company failure just impacts the company so that you are in an okay place that you can go try again.
Wrap it up here. I'll ask, there's been a couple questions about partners.
Yep.
Can you share
Yeah.
the interesting dynamics you have with your partners and how that worked out?
Yeah. So your partner or partners, especially if it's just 2 of you, I mean, that's a marriage without sex. So, I mean, that is you are there with them, you spend all the time with them, especially in the beginning. So you have to make sure that it's somebody you like and that you think similarly and that you complement each other. And basically you'll spend, you will fight. Like my partner recently did some stuff I didn't like, and I did stuff he didn't like, but, you know, we dealt with it, we hashed it out, we fought it out, now we're fine. But, you know, especially in the beginning, it's so important that you're working well together, you're complementing each other. You may have disagreements, but you come to the right decision. And I found that when I want to do something, I find that if I talk to him, we usually come up with the better idea. And then when he wants to do something, he talks to me the same. But, I mean, you have to manage it. And my thing there goes back to the people. Like, if you're not getting on with your partner, and it's like a relationship that you're not in this, like, you feel like you can't do it for the long term, like an actual relationship, I mean, it's not going to work. I mean, you probably need to quit it. because you're going to spend so much time with this person or these people, like especially in the beginning. Like the first 2 years of Navagis, my partner David and I spent 60 hours a week together. I mean, I spent more time with him than I spent with, my actual girlfriend / future wife. So, partners are very important, and it just, I don't know. I mean, then it just gets into relationships. So, I mean, if it's just not working, just go. So, and you'll know. I guess the best advice I can give is you'll just know. You'll know if it's going to work out or not, and then if it's not, again, fail fast. If it's not, get out. About partners, it was because your partners are important. So you need to find people that will complement you. Like if you're good at something, so if you're a good software guy, you better go find a good sales guy. Because I mean, if all you've done is software, you're not going to be very good at sales until you do it. Like me, I've been more talkative as a software guy, more social than most of them, but it still took me a while to kind of understand. Now I can do sales. Now I understand sales strategy, and I like it. I like business development. But in the beginning, I didn't know anything. I was nervous to even interview salespeople for years, and just felt inadequate to do it. So finding these people to help complement your weaknesses is very critical. But again, it's just making sure that you get along with them and you see, pretty much eye to eye. So because if you don't, then it's not going to work.
Any other questions for Ben? We're all questioned out.
Are there any future innovations that you could share with us, or is it secret now?
Secret. Yeah, I mean, anything cool that I do know is happening, I really can't talk about. For client confidentiality and NDAs and various reasons. So.
Is there any way, not being a professional photographer, get hired to take pictures of each other?
That's funny. We were working on a contract to do it, and if we got the contract, we were going to subcontract. I got a buddy in San Fran. They do. They're called. It's such a weird name. I shouldn't forget it. But they basically use cameras and iPhone cameras, and they stitch together 3D models of people, and then they use that to create lifelike representations of people for video games, movies, 3D printing, stuff like that. So we were going. If we got this contract, we were going to subcontract them to build us an iOS app that would allow any untrained person to basically use the iPhone to properly create the 3D inside view. So, I mean, if we ever get that software, then sure, I can pay you to use that.
I'm not sure the name of it, but they actually have some people here that are working on a software exactly like that.
Oh, really?
Already got it developed, actually.
Good.
So where you can,
It'll stitch together. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I know Microsoft had one called Photo Cinch, and I used it. It wasn't super user-friendly, so anything out there that's better, that'd be good. We're currently running a lot of contracts on that right now, but I'll definitely look into it. Anything else, or can we let everybody go? Cool. Thanks, y'all. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, brother.